Unbelievable. Um, Everything. After last year's COVID, had to wait a year, but it was worth the wait.
Did you know Troy was going to mention you in his speech?
I did not. He's just, he's been that way his whole life. Very passionate, very determined. And he was a very coachable kid when I had him at young age, and we talked ball all the time, and so it was a nice mention.
How emotional was that for you?
Man, I couldn't stop crying. When he got on stage, I couldn't stop crying. They didn't have to say anything about me. It was just a moment, not only for him, but my family, my culture. Just wish that my mom and dad and the people that my older brother Salu, he lived with in Oregon, were around to see it.
You mentioned talking ball with him. Do you still talk to him, about Vikings games or anything?
Yeah, we talk about ball all the time. Just the proper fits. How would he play a certain formation and emotion. We talked about was some fun stuff. I remember when Kansas City, 2 years ago, when the back hit that long run, and he goes, "Uncle, I've been in that situation. It's hard to fit off that motion," and boom, boom, boom. So so you always think about what you can do. Even when I coached against him after a game, we'd talk about situation, different scenarios. But the good thing about him is he's very creative. He'll take a chance. And it was tough to coach against him because he could have been anywhere.
Kennedy, you mentioned your culture and why this was such a big deal for American Samoa in general. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, and why was this so profound for your?
Well, it's a very poor country. It's not, and it's very family oriented. The village, pretty much. It's a Matai system, and my dad was the Matai, and basically you took care of the whole village, and that culture has continued all the way through our lives, and the humility and the service, that's part of the culture, and you take care of your family, and you stay humble, and you put your head down and go to work, and you don't have to talk about it, you don't have to brag about it. Just do your job.
Yeah, so Troy's always kind of carried that forward, so it's almost like he brought you and your whole family into Canton with him. Is that how it felt?
It felt that way. I really enjoyed it. He did that with his speech when he talked about being the first generation of Samoa that came from Samoa and then end up in the Hall of Fame. It's going to take a while for me to come down.
Kennedy, with the change here in offensive line coaches before camp, how has that affected what you do with the running backs, considering those two positions seem like they work pretty close together?
Yeah, it's been fun because they come with new ideas. Dalvin and I and CJ have had 4 offensive coordinators, 4 O-line coaches. So it, to me, is not stagnant. We know what we want to do. We want to give the ball to 33 and figure a way to do that. But it's always fun for me because it's always the new thoughts, and you don't want to get pinholed just one way. And I like the creativity that they bring. But I've worked with a lot of good O-line coaches, and every single one of them have a commitment to bringing out the best in their unit. It's a very unselfish group, and usually the O-line coach is a very unselfish guy, and I've enjoyed it.
I know Mike Zimmer said that there won't be anybody with that run game coordinator title that Rick Dennison had last year. Do you anticipate, just knowing what your guys can do, that you'll take on a bigger role in help calling some of those runs?
Oh, Zim, we talked about it, and I said, Zim, I'm always going to do what, Kennedy wants to do, and we're gonna make an impact in influencing and having our guys be explosive and be efficient, and we're gonna all work together as a unit. And anywhere you've been, the good ones work together.
What have been your impressions of Kennedy Polamalu in the first couple of weeks here?
Very bright young man, explosive, very cautious of wanting to do things right. I just got to unleash him. Just, be creative. There's going to be some times that you make a mistake, but make it 100 miles an hour and you'll be fine. And I'm looking forward to it because he's not only doing that. Coach Zim showed a nice special teams where he covered kickoff and he was one of the first guys down the field and, had a really good collision. And that's what we're about in our room, making plays with or without the football. Be the guy that can just impact. Let's don't just be out here wearing a uniform.
The speed is obviously very noticeable with him, but what are some of the little things that rookie running backs have to master before they can be trusted?
Well, and again, it's just seeing defensive structure, and going against Zim every day. He's going to get all kinds of looks. So with those different looks and different fits and different pressures, you tend to not just cut it loose. And we got to get him to just cut it loose. So I showed him some tape of, Dalvin when he was a rookie. We put him in pressure situation, and Dalvin said that to them. We're going to put you in pressure situation, and the most pressure you're going to feel is me on your behind. So don't worry about that. Just go have fun.
Some of that changed this year, just having Pierce and Tomlinson in those two spots and being able to run against that in practice.
Oh, anytime you go against really good players, what iron sharpens iron, they say. It's been a fun process for us, and then being out in the field and getting some preseason games, that's really good too.
I know Clinton mentioned earlier this offseason there have been tracking devices on players to determine how much run guys are getting and being cognizant of making sure Dalvin's at full go when it matters the most. I mean, how do you anticipate approaching preseason games when it comes to him, knowing that you know what he can do and just trying to, maybe limit some of those touches on him?
Yeah, that's Zim, Coach Zim. We will sit, every week, and he'll say he wants, these guys to play, and that's the plan. But we always prepare for the workload. The number one thing for him is just going to be stamina and getting hit. And we should get some good work here tomorrow and Thursday with the Broncos.
As many touches as he had last year, what's your role as a coach in just trying to make sure that you can keep him for a 17-game season now?
We have a pretty good routine that we've been together for 4 years. I know what his body looks like. I know what he's expecting. So there's it's been a good relationship, and obviously I want him to play and make a lot of plays, but I kind of have a pulse of, and that also ties with having 3 preseason games and how our new coordinator calls the plays as well.
Kennedy, how do you get a young guy like Kennedy to unleash, so to speak, and not be so cautious of making mistakes?
It always starts with their pre-read, their vision, and understands what 11 on defense are doing and what the other 10 guys on offense are doing. Once you know where you fit in that, the game becomes much faster for him. Everything slows around, but he plays fast.
Kennedy, you say you know Dalvin's body. How often do you have to override him for his own good, like maybe pull him out when he doesn't want to come out?
It's to me, one of the biggest things seeing someone, an elite runner like him, is you're always in conversation. You know what off season, what he's doing on the weekends. Every off day, we'll talk and say, what'd you do for yourself today? It's one of those things that, but I do that with all those backs, and you want them to have a very successful, but it's just communication and the truth.
Been having this much consistency in the group because Dalvin now he's year 5 You've got the same, backup for 3 years in Madison. Ham's been here forever, that type of thing.
Yeah, and that's what's fun because now you get to work on this consistency, the details, and the execution. They know how we work, the standard that we put in that room, and it has to come from them. I can preach all about it, but they've set a high standard in that room and what they expect. So it's kind of cool and fun. And the guys that have been here before, they are doing a good job. The Latavius Murrays, the Jarek McKinnon, the Mike Boone, those guys, there's a good culture in that room.